Hey, Brian, David. I see. I felt sorry for Phil. He said he's off tonight as far as working. So I figured, well, I have to give him some kind of a chat to go to and all that. Hopefully he'll come in, get things set up here. There he is. Hey, Phil. Glad you're on. I felt sorry for you, so I figured I'd come on so you could have somebody to talk to. Oh my. Let's see. Let's get the invite up. Yeah. Let's see. Get out of here. Pin it. All right. There's the link. All right. Somebody's got to come in. Keep me company. Hey, Laura. Yeah, I'm just. Phil was 33 Mile Bees was not working and tonight, and he hadn't been on for months. So I felt sorry for him. So I figured, well, I'll come on. Hey, there's JW, 3B boys, Mike. Hey there, Tom and Melissa. Good to see y'all. So, hey, Mike. Yep, somebody's here. That's Laura.
Hi, I'm not looking very good right now, but you can look at the ceiling. How are
Oh,
you?
come on now, Laura.
Uh,
You do get stung?
no, I didn't get stung, but it's the end of the night. But I just wanted to let you know I did go to May Mentor's Hives tonight. And, it's time to transition for the winter, and that's kind of what I started to do.
Right,
So I knew when I went into my hives on Friday that the nectar was really not coming in. So it's
right.
time to feed. And feeding actually stimulates the queen to lay bees for the winter that are fat to keep her healthy.
Right.
So I took all my honey off on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was in the brood box, as long as there was no brood. I took all those frames. I took the frames in the super and the buffer, and there was not much, but I'm cleaning it all out. It's a very dark honey. And
Yeah, well, I noticed my honey that when I harvested, it was darker than normal. Normally, it's more of I'll say a straw yellow,
yeah,
and
this is
it was
dark.
more dark. I think the rains came, and there's locust trees next to my house, and it kind of washed that nectar out or washed it down, or what would you say, minimized it. And I think the poplar trees they kind of bloom a little bit later, not much. They're almost on top of each other. And I think I got majority of mine is more of a poplar, more of a darker brown or a kind of a, they always say poplar in the sunlight is kind of ruby red looking, something like that.
Okay. So you don't think it's honeydew?
Mm, not when I did it.
Okay.
Right now, I mean, yes, the spotter lanternflies are in the area. I parked my car underneath of a tree last week at our club picnic, and I had honeydew all over my car and everything.
That's fun. Yeah. Uh-huh. So anyway, that's kind of where I am. I've got two brood boxes on the bottom with a queen excluder right now, and then a
Hey, Jeff.
super on top, and then the feeding 1 to 1. And I will let the bees fill the super up with the clean honey for the winter. And that's what I'm doing. And in one hive, I wound up with two queens. I don't know how. I've only been going in every 2 weeks, in this
Right.
last month because not much was coming in.
Right.
And I wound up with 2 queens. I don't want 2 queens.
And you have to make
So
a quick split.
I don't want to split. I have 4 hives plus a spare nuke, which
Right.
is really a mini hive. I don't want 6. I'm just not increasing. I'm just not doing it.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I went into my hives, or I went into one hive tonight. It was hey Randy. Um, it was the one where I made a video that it was a queen dud, and so pinched her last Wednesday. I got a
Mhm.
new queen, a mated queen from the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and I installed her um, Thursday morning. So now it's been exactly 5 days. I found her in the hive. She's been released. And I did find one frame. It had a lot of pollen around it, and there was an area, a small area that where you could definitely see eggs. So then I got to saying, well, that ain't much. But then I got to thinking about it. Well, it probably took her 3 days to get released. And she's only really been out of the cage for maybe 2 days. So for that, it's not, give her time. She'll hopefully, you know,
Right.
get going on her own. Hey there, gun line.
So
But
your hive accepted the new queen.
yeah, Tim and Hannah.
Good.
And yeah, they accepted her and all that, and everything's good there.
So how do
And
you get a hive to accept a new queen? I don't do that. I've done it once or twice, but because you know what, there was somebody that was out with us this afternoon, and
the
if
best way to do for the highest percentage of acceptance, I'll say 95% acceptance rate, you want to make that hive queenless for 5 days. Then,
okay,
now this is what was interesting. I had a queen in there. She wasn't laying. I could not see any eggs whatsoever that I could see with my eyes. And I can see eggs. I'm not saying that my vision's that poor. And I went in there on the last, it was queenless for, oh, let's see, Saturday. So let's see, Saturday be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 days. It was queenless for 5 days.
mm-hmm,
I went in there on that morning and I pulled the frame up out of the middle, and here's emergency queen cells. And I'm like, how did they make emergency queen cells when there wasn't any visible eggs in there? And there just wasn't one in the top. I got 3 mediums. So the top medium is all honey. The other 2 are all brood. I found about 5 frames of, one might have 3 or 4 on there frame. And then I have maybe one frame that had one queen cell, you know, and all that. Maybe she was one of them queens where she just never was really mated that well. She might have laid an egg here and, randomly here, there, and everywhere. And so anyway, I actually smashed about, I don't know, 10 queen cells, and got rid of all them. And that's what you have to do. Wait 5 days, smash all the queen cells, go to frame by frame, brush all, shake all the bees off, smash them. And then I went ahead and put the cage in. This one was a California cage, which I wasn't real familiar with that. I'm usually JZ, BZ, or a 3-hole cage. And I normally, I don't know, some people say they just squeeze in between the frames. This one here, it was just a queen only in there. I went ahead and I always use my little rubber band. Just get yourself a common rubber band and put it around the frame and put the cage underneath of it, and make sure that the screen, I propped the screen up so they could go down and feed her and then go ahead and eat the tube out of candy
mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuff. And then she was released. So I think she's going to be fine. There is Aprivar scripts in, which will be coming out at the end of the month. I will not put any other mite treatment on her, like a formic acid or anything harsh, She's just starting to lay, so there shouldn't be really hardly any mites in there at all.
Right.
So, and that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to let her go. And the only other thing I might do is I might put an appy tablet in there to give them some. It's a supplement. You know, they can feed on that along with the honey. And then the middle, I guess it'll be about a week or so after Labor Day. I'll be putting the top high feeders on and start. And that high needs a little bit more feed in it, but I'm hoping that she'll get laid, you know, get going by that time and laying up a lot of brood in the area and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
all that. So that's my game plan for now.
Are you still getting nectar? You don't need to feed yet?
Um, I don't know whether there's really any nectar out there. I mean, other than maybe spotted lanternfly, but I would say that spotted lanternfly nectar is minimal this year. The first year it was everywhere. I wasn't expecting nectar whatsoever. Normally I was expecting to feed, and I went back and there's a whole super full of honey, which all these hives behind me in the picture pretty much have, except for that one that has queen issues, is got a super full of honey. And then some of the newer hives that were double deep. So I had foundation in there, and they have drawn that foundation out, laid it up with brood, and then some of it they've also drawn it out and capped it with honey and things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's been happening in my area. It was very pleasant today. I mean, it was 75 tops, low humidity, a pretty good breeze all day today. It was sort of chilly in a way
Yeah, it seems cold at
and all that. I
73
mean, the bees were not
after
bearding.
this summer.
Yeah, the bees were not bearding. They were all in their hives. You know, I had one that was quite active. You know, a lot of bees swirling around, which I believe that there must have been a hatch, and they were all orientating to the hive and stuff and all
I
that.
have
So,
learned that the catbird is a predator to the lanternfly.
oh yeah.
So, as over time, we won't get as much lanternfly honey because the catbirds are eating the lanternflies.
I think also somebody was telling me, and they were speculating this last year, is that they were starting to see an increase in the what do you call it? Oh, what's that big green long thing that's got uh prey
Grasshopper,
mantis, prey mantis,
praying
and
mantis.
and I, yeah, the prey mantis. There's a couple different. There's a small one and there's the big one. That's the ones I always seen was a great big one about 4 or 5 inches long. They
Wow.
prey on them things, and there was a big population explosion. They said last year or this year. I haven't really seen them that many of them, and because that was something that they was a natural food source for them, and
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
so I like I say I've seen maybe 6 lanternflies. I actually seen them, flying around or on the ground or something like that, and that was it.
I haven't seen any.
In up
I'm,
north.
I don't know
I
how
think it
far
was what
north I
4
am of
years
you. I'm
ago.
in the Westchester area,
Yeah,
so
4 years ago in Westchester area, um, you guys were overrun with them.
oh, totally. I
You
still have
know.
honey from that July 6, 2020.
Hmm.
Yep.
So,
So, so
so
you're not
that,
you're not feeding your brand new queen to stimulate her to lay eggs for
no,
winter.
I haven't. I mean, they got a box full of honey.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know whether that is enough to stimulate her or what.
I don't
Like I
know.
say,
From
she
what I
just,
understand, the 1-to-1 that they consume during the night is what stimulates her. But, I'm just listening to Keith, who has been doing this over 50 years. I figure
oh,
he
okay.
knows what he's doing because he's successful. I'm
Well,
lucky to have,
with Keith Jardine, right?
yeah, I'm lucky to have him as a mentor.
Oh, really? Didn't he, wasn't he downsizing?
Yeah, so he bought a boat and Yeah, he's going to go back to boating, and he said he was going to beekeep for 2 more years. So that means next year might be his last, but who knows? I don't know. Things
Mhm.
change. But I've been very, to say I've been blessed is an understatement. I've been so fortunate, lucky, blessed that Keith has been my mentor. I have learned so much.
Yeah, guys. Laura, she hasn't got her makeup on. I'll put it to you that way.
Oh
And
yeah, just
so
picture
you're
me
only
with
going to get
white
to see her ceiling.
skin
That's it.
cream all over.
Huh?
Just picture me with white skin cream all
Oh,
over.
all right. She's all ready for bed with skim cream all over her face. And, so,
So it's
yeah,
nice
I
to
know
have
that.
you on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, um, Phil from 33 Mile Bees, he's a train engineer, and he doesn't get to come on, but rarely. And I had other things I was doing here. Once I finished up, then I seen his post in No Life Beekeeper. I said, well, I'll go on for a while and hopefully, give him a little bit of entertainment to hang out with the rest of the folks here and
Yeah.
all. Hey, Ryan, and that kind of stuff. But getting back to Keith and you, I mean that's the main thing. What I see is with your beekeeping and your knowledge base compared, and along with Nancy, is that uh, the other folks in the other chat that we visit on Friday nights with, um, I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of shake my head. I'm like, where's your education at? Why haven't you, I don't think they don't go and do enough classes and stuff. The one thing I
Well,
do
you
like
know
is
what?
the what is
They
it?
had
The
an
women's group.
opportunity to learn and they just didn't tap into it. And they really lost out. Many of them did.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
it's like the women's group it seems like the women's group is definitely what I expect out of a club like that, where they bring in speakers and they broaden their knowledge base. And
They're
so far,
doing very good
the
things.
women's
They
group,
really are.
the women's group is kicking butt as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're doing really well. And, men are welcome.
Well, I'll be there tomorrow night. They're having Robin Underwood from up at Penn State
Hmm.
and everything. So
Is what is she going to be speaking about?
something about the drones. Something
Oh,
about
okay.
drones. She
I
has
feel
several
bad
different.
for the drones. I think they have more to do in the hive than we realize. I mean,
Mhm.
nature is nature. There must be a reason why there are so many drones in a hive. It can't just be for procreation for a select few and the rest just hang around doing nothing. There has to be some unknown reason why they're there.
Mm. But that's what she's going to talk about. Now, she talks about like the different types of beekeeping, organic versus non treatment free. I've heard that program. She
Mm-hmm.
does one thing about spotter and lanternfly, where they found, and one of her colleagues, I'll say, in the science field, said, you need to test this honey out. He says it's actually higher in antibacterial, microbial, whatever, medication wise than Manuka honey. And she tested it, and it blew it just skyrocketed over Manuka honey. Now the
Which honey
older
is
it get,
this?
huh?
Which honey is this?
Manuka honey out of New Zealand,
Yeah, which honey is better?
uh, lanternfly. It actually will
Oh.
kill more. It kills more. Lanternfly honey will kill more bacteria than Manuka honey. She has tested it
Oh.
and got it tested. And hey, there he is.
How's it
I'm
going?
on, I'm on tonight just for you.
gonna say I even went out, got a half gallon of ice cream just to. Oh man.
But anyway, Laura, the levels of antibacterial type properties, fresh Manuka honey will blow the doors right off of Manuka honey. And if it's an older Manuka honey, as I say, 6 months old or a year old, it still has a higher level than what it's setting the new benchmark. You know, it hasn't said a whole lot about it, but and that was another talk that she gives. But these are types of things that um everybody in that club needs to hear, or at least be versed on. And it was just like last Friday, they were talking about the beetle traps, and the guy was selling them and all that. And Diane bought or got some sent to her for free. And I said, that all stems out from if you watch Bob Benny's videos, from Keith Del Plain down in Georgia at the Georgia Bee Lab, where he's been experimenting with all that kind of stuff. I haven't heard any results yet, but anyway, so
Yeah, I did the beetle traps. They're useless.
yeah.
And I
So,
I do have some beetles now, but um I've been
have you got
advised
coverings
that
underneath
I'm
your
really getting
hives?
them from a bad beekeeper in the area.
Yeah. Have you got any coverings underneath your hives, like ground covering?
No.
I mean, there's a lot of folks that will bunk me on that, but like under my hives, I found some old carpet. If I can get it from some carpet layer that they're ripping it out, and it's, I'm going to say, a good 5 to 6 feet wide. I put my hive stands on top of that in the backing of the carpet up, and it doesn't let the larvae go through the screen bottom boards and pupate, and that helps break the life cycle. Another thing is Grub-X. Put some Grub-X down, and I know that Lee from down in Louisiana, where they have a lot of problems, he put a ton of that around his hives, and they were in the woods. He never had any beetle problems worth to
I
speak of.
actually bought Milky Spore.
Mm-hmm.
Milky Spore is not Grub-X, but it's Milky Spore goes into the ground and it works for 30 years. I bought it 35 years ago for my roses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's time to do that again.
So Keith, what's happening? I know you've been working with the trains and whatever, and isn't that what
Me?
you do? Yeah.
No,
I mean, Phil.
yeah. Yeah, just been swamped at work. Just been short-handed. Work's been picking up, so
You're running a train from point A to point B, and then you get flown back and all that stuff.
Well, for me, I'm on what's called the extra board. You know what? Camera's not focusing here. So I'm basically like a fill-in. So if somebody needs a day off, I take their job for the day, or if there's extra trains that need to be run, then they call me in and I go run them. So yeah, I'm basically like substitute, whatever you want to call it. So I'm on call 24/7, and I get a 48-hour allotment off. So that's about it.
Right. How's the bees doing for you?
I can't keep up with them right now. I mean, it's, as far as trying to get the honey boxes or honey supers off, I'm just not having the time. I've only got about 10 boxes spun out right now. I still got to pull about 60 more, and it's just trying to find the time. Every time I seem to have a day off, I get swamped with something else going on with the kid and everything else. So, but hopefully tomorrow I can try and get maybe like 20 more boxes pulled off at least, and get them in the house, and spin them when I can. But,
okay.
Yeah, I just the colonies this year, I just noticed every time I go out there that I have not had as strong a colonies ever before than this year. I mean, they are just just flowing out the boxes right now. So
Well, yeah. Ryan from Peabody Apiaries, he wants to know: are you using fume boards to get your?
I use both. I use escape boards. If it's just like one super that I got to get pulled off, I'll throw it on a couple days before, and it'll give me a few minutes just to run out there, do that, and then a couple days later, I got an extra few minutes, and I'll go out there and pull it off again. But primarily, I'm using fume boards. If I go out there and try and get like 8 or 10 or 12 at a time.
Yeah, that's what I do. I use fume board and a electric leaf blower, small one, just to kind of get the stragglers out of the box. Put it on the back of the pickup truck and go on and back to the house with it. Get about, like you say, about 10 boxes. For me around here is I'll harvest enough boxes of honey that I feel I can get through harvest it within 3 days. Like that.
But the amount that I'm getting out of a box, I'm averaging about 30 pounds of honey per medium super. So it's doing pretty good this year.
And then how's your mite situation? I know you've worked with Abbey tablets, and
it's been a lot better this year. I think I got them under control for this year. Last year, I got behind enough, and they just took over. And I think that's how I got the
I got to take this call. I'll be back, guys. Hold on.
What are Appy tablets?
It's a supplement that Bob Walker is selling. It's basically it's like a size of about a hockey puck, and it's a supplement. It's got a bunch of nutrients in it and a small amount of thymol. And as Appy tablets, as they get eaten through the I want to say like the dirt, but when they're actively not foraging, and they'll actually eat it while it's in the hive, and then helps control the mites.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So with the thymol in there, they're controlling the mites.
Yep. Yeah. But it's being branded as a supplemental, not as a mite treatment, but it's got a good side effect.
Oh, okay. Is there something else besides thymol that they're getting that is actually?
All right, that's all I need. So you say you ought to put about 8.
Yeah, there's other vitamins and minerals and oils and essential oils and stuff that are in it too. There's a bunch of stuff in it. It's kind of like
I'll catch you later.
I don't know. I want to say a one-stop shop kind of thing, but it's.
What time of year do you give it to the bees?
I give one in the spring. And as soon as I go to start putting on my honey supers, I take it back off if there's any left. And in the fall, same time that I'll put one on as I'm putting the syrup to them. They say you're not supposed to do it while you're giving them syrup at the same time, but I got kind of a short window, so I just put them on anyways. And then I'll pump I'll do an OA treatment or two also with it.
Why do you have a short treatment window?
Yeah.
Why do you have a short one? Why do you have a short treatment
He's
window?
up in Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah. We go from basically from flow to cold weather in like a few weeks.
You're in Maine, did you say?
No, Michigan.
No, Michigan.
Michigan. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
So.
Yeah. So you have a short season. Okay.
Yeah. Like our goldenrod's blooming right now, but usually it's not even enough to consider it a flow. It's just there. You'll smell it for a couple days and it goes away. So it's just here and gone so fast.
Oh, wow. So I heard that you can't really use thymol and oxalic acid, right, at the same time, or you have to use one before the other because they have a bad reaction together.
I don't know. I've used them together.
Bob Benning made mention of that when he had those extended release oxalic acid strips on his hive.
Yeah.
And he said if you did thymol first, then the thymol vapors, I'll call it, stays in the hive longer. And then when you hit them with oxalic acid, it maybe if you do it too quick, my understanding is that it's a little bit too harsh on them, possibly.
Okay. So you can do oxalic acid first and then the thymol later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. For
He's
me,
talking a lot more stronger than
dosage.
like even what these Appy tablets are.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that the Appy tablets has kind of caught you or kept your bees in check, or your mites in sort of in check, you might say?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say it keeps them in check. It knocks them down a little bit if you have a high mite count. I mean, this is just what I found. Other people have found that it knocks the mites down a lot. I found that it keeps them in check where they're at, or just reduces them a little bit, but it does help.
Yeah, it's and then it's also a supplement for the bees.
Yeah.
I think that
And it's just, to me, it's just the convenience of them too. I mean, you pop the lid, you throw one on, close the lid, and you just go on to the next one. So you don't have to dig through the hive. You don't have to sit there and wait for the vaporizer to run or anything like that. So, and then I just leave them in there in the fall. If they just get left in there, and if they eat them, okay. If they're just in there until spring, well, they're there.
and then Mike says that Fred Dunn said there has been no special studies on the mix of the two together, and he doesn't know where Bob got his interaction info from. But I think a lot of things is for what I've seen with Appy Tab. And I'll say I watched you, I think, 6 months, a year ago, about when you first did them and all. I think a lot of folks didn't have their mites under control to begin with.
Right. And that was my case.
They were infested more than what they thought they were.
Yep.
And stuff like that. It's like myself. The one I was watching, this one guy, and he actually not text me, but messaged me, replied to my messages and stuff. Anyway, he washed a 9 or a 10, something like that, of mites after a Formic Pro treatment, and then he's putting another treatment of Formic Pro right back on behind it. And I said, you got to use. The recommendations out there is 3 different treatments a year, using 3 different products. And I told him, I said, Formic Pro is great. If you can use Formic Pro with the right type of temperature ratings, then you can use AprilGuard. And I said, you need to do that. And he was saying his work schedule, whatever. I don't know what the guy's work schedule is, but if he can be in there every 2 weeks, if he's got a booming hive and he can put 50 grams of thymol on there, come back in 2 weeks and put another tray on. I mean, what's so hard about that? I kind of laughed at him. He says, I just can't get through all these 6 hives at one time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? 6 hives? I mean, it's like, how hard is that? But
some people think they gotta go through every single frame of every single hive every time they go out there too. So,
and that's what I watched him, and from what I seen of him, he didn't have a plan before he went into the hive. This is what, like, hey, I'm going to do this today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of just going in there blindly, and he's got a deep and 2 mediums. And I'm like, are they, I'm looking at it and are they honey supers? Well, here's some honey and here's some brood in there. I'm like, oh, you don't have a queen excluder on, or is it where you're doing a deep and a medium for winter configuration, where, they'll lay up that one super is part of that configuration box and never leaves that box, and I mean, what I've learned with a single brood chamber management is like if he had a deep and a medium, and of course the queen's going to be upstairs most likely. I would push, shake all the bees off. There's going to be brood up there, and make sure your queen's in the bottom. Put the queen excluder on. Then I would put a honey super on, and then put that medium that was with that deep with the brood upstairs. That's going to draw those bees up into the honey super. They're going to fill the honey super. They're going to cover the brood and hatch it out. And you just you use that brood as an attractant, and that's how you increase your honey production and stuff. But it takes time to learn all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Hey, Brad.
Usually when I start putting honey supers on, I'm not even touching any of the brood boxes anymore. So
it's good to have a good structure, just a good solid structure that you follow. And as time goes on, you can veer a little here and there as you need to.
Yeah. Now you guys now, Laura, you were saying you were taking your honey off now. Now, to me, and here it is, mid-August. I always, April, May, and June is my honey flow here, and I'll get it. Now, we'll have to say the honey flow extended, I'll say halfway through July, of just normal nectar sources. I don't know what it was, and nobody really could tell me, even the bee inspector. And so anyway, maybe I could have picked up a little bit extra nectar, but I'm not sure whether or not they could have cured it, quick enough. I didn't want to really wait that long. So normally like I say, by the 4th of July, I'm ready. I'm, taking everything off. And then that's when I put if I have 3 medium boxes, that's when I put my 3rd medium box back on. And usually there's, like this year, there was either a nectar source from some other nectar source, or there was spotted lanternfly in the area that I didn't know. I do know that there's some staghorn sumac across the road, which I found that that's a nectar source. Oh. And I figured, people said, I said, I leave all that on there for them. That's that much less I don't have to feed.
But doesn't that all bloom in the spring?
What's that? Staghorn?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
it's over there now. It's kind of like at a cocoon thing,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is more of a spring source.
Is it?
Because it's all dark. It's dark now. You can kind of pluck it now and use it as a smoker fuel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see these big pointy blossom things, and I went over and looked at them. I've never paid them much attention to them, and they're kind of fuzzy, kind of a velvet red looking.
Yeah.
Yep. And you can make a lemonade drink out of them in the spring.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's what somebody in the Chester County Club told us a couple of years ago.
But
anyway, yep. So I'm going to feed, and then they'll have a cleaner honey for them to consume during the winter. You're south of where I am, but if they don't get a chance to go out on a cleansing flight, at least they'll have a cleaner honey, and they won't have much of a gut problem.
Right.
Although, the zones have changed. So we're in a warmer zone climate now as of a couple of years ago.
Hey, Pastor Larry. I don't know. I know that, let's see, Randy just said here in Ohio, it blooms late summer in Ohio as far as sumac goes.
Okay.
And stuff like that. That's where, and he's in Ohio. Ohio seems to be pretty comparable to Maryland and all, and probably even in your area, we're all about the same. Laura lives up in Westchester, Pennsylvania. And we belong to Chester County Bee Club also. I don't know how many years I've been belonging up there. Let's see, probably about 8, something like that. They used to have, they used to have a one-day great conference, live conference. And then 2020 come along and shut it down, I think a week before the whole thing hit. And then after that, they all went to the darn Zoom thing, which I don't know. I like my live conferences.
I've never been to the live one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like for us, like I know Phil, are you going to Nobby?
Yeah, yeah, I got my tickets. I'll be in the same hotel as, well, probably you and Lee.
I'll be at the Hilton. You gonna be there?
Whichever one, the one we stayed at last year.
Okay, that's the Hilton right there at Gate 4.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I got my room there and everything. But Laura, I mean, at Nobby, what I really like about it is that I got all these friends here off to the right. There's 60 of us, 64 of us here. And a good portion of them come to that gathering, and I get to meet all my internet friends from across the United States and Canada and all, and that's the fun part of it.
That's
And then we get together. We might go to next door to the hotel where we're staying at is the Cracker Barrel, and there's not a lot of places around, I don't think.
So when is this and where is it?
First weekend of the year.
Yeah, it's the first of the year. It's called the National Honeybee Expo.
North American Honeybee Expo.
Yeah, North American Honeybee Expo. Cayman Reynolds puts it on, and it's 2.5 days long. And this past January, there was 140 vendors there. I mean, talking, anything you can imagine, it's there in beekeeping. And then there was 26 different classes.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah,
something like that.
They weren't small classes either.
Now these rooms probably what,
couple hundred people.
200 people per classroom. And the speakers, I mean, you had Bob Benny there, you had Cayman, you had tomorrow night at Westchester, the gal from Penn State there, she was there. Let's see, a lot of internet folks that are real beekeepers, commercial beekeepers, some different science folks were there talking about different things. So there was a balance between hands-on beekeeping kind of people and the science end of it. And, you get to meet them and go up and say hi and all that stuff.
Sounds fun.
And,
do they have honey contests?
Yeah. Oh, it's probably the biggest. It is probably the biggest honey contest there is. Here comes James from out in Alberta. You're back to Canada, are you?
I am back in Canada. You betcha. Yeah. After my whirlwind, what did we cross? 11 states and 2 provinces.
Yeah, it was a good. I watched all your
keeping track of where you were at.
Todd or not? Were you able to see Todd?
I didn't. He ended up getting called into work. We kind of waited around there a little bit, and then we pushed on because
And then when you were in Colorado, I says, "My goodness, you just went right through where, where Flower Street Brian lives. You were right there, But
I did manage to stop in. I did manage to stop in and see Jose. I stopped in and saw a few other beekeepers and stuff like that reached out to over YouTube and stuff like that. But it was really every time I did that. By the way, I ended up having to buy Daryl a round of beer. So the deal on that trip was no work. So no work from the mill, no work for the bees and stuff like that, and. Flattering as it is, you'd go around and people would recognize who I was, and then they'd come up, and of course we start talking bees, and that would cost me a round of beer. So, no, all in all, it was a fabulous trip. We couldn't have planned a trip that good if we tried. The only thing that we had planned on that whole trip was to spend a day or two down at the Sturgis Bike Rally, and we ended up spending 5 days there. So. Just everything that we got to see, there's so much to see in the US. We didn't have anything planned, but things like swimming in the Rio Grande River, didn't have that planned. Stopped by and saw, Crazy Horse in Mount Washington. Drove my bike across the Mojave Desert and up and down the Vegas Strip. Seen the Grand Canyon, the Hoover Dam. We camped in the Redwood Forest. Rode the bike up Route 1. Just you couldn't have planned that. We literally just we had 19 days and we just went.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I enjoyed all your videos, especially all those different. I've been out there in a lot of the places that you've been to or went to, and we didn't go to Redwood Forest, but Grand Canyon and places like that. There's sites out there that that's only there, and it's the landscape is much different and everything and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I guess you're back to work and all that stuff.
Back to work. Alan did a absolute fabulous job while I was gone. So we've got. I'm waiting on my clarifier. Is the only thing I'm waiting on. So that I should have back. As you know, I kind of can't leave anything alone, so I may have modified it slightly. And I should have that back from the weld shop here simply because I didn't have time to sit down and weld it. I should have that back tomorrow or possibly Thursday. So anyways, that should work out all right.
Yeah, that's good. And how's the I don't know. I know you got to get inspected and all that kind of stuff, and then you got your Cowan extraction line. You've been working on that, getting cleaning it up and painting.
We ripped that down, Charlie. Every nut, bolt, washer, bearing, motor, wire. We have completely ripped that down. We modified, we upgraded, we powder coated, we improved that everything on that piece of equipment. So we've got. I do have a bunch of film ready to go. I will edit that video and probably get that video out. If everything goes good, sometime next week.
That's cool. Yeah, I was watching Troy Hall, his last video where he bought a Hive lifter like mine this year. And where he's up in New Hampshire and, using it to harvest 4 boxes, 4 mediums, I'll say most of the time, I guess. It might, I don't know. That's what I think it was. Anyway, about 4 of them at one lift, he could lift it up. He's got a nice 8-foot flatbed truck with a Tommy gate on the back end of it. A lift gate, and he puts the supers on a little pallet for his he can use his hand truck to get up underneath a stack of supers like Ian does, and raises it up with a Tommy gate, puts it on the truck, loads it, straps it all down. I think he said he could get at least 100 supers on a load. And then he's got a Cowan 24 frame machine, I believe it is. This is one of the smaller ones with a look just like the one down at Hive Life or Nobby this year, where it's just like yours. It has the wax machine off to the right hand side of it as you're feeding it and everything. And he has it in a building and up there, and like you say, very kind of real clean. And kind of like Doug Lawman, where he showed his video where they were, spotless, looked beautiful working area.
Well, I sent Ian and Brad some pictures of some of the stainless when we were done, and they were asking me what I used to polish it.
Yeah,
and I had dishpan hands, and Alan had dishpan hands. By the time we were done, we scrubbed every single inch of that. And if I've learned one thing out of all of that, especially when it comes to wax, honey, and propolis, if you have not used or tried that product that Brad put us onto, that's So Clean, you are missing out. Let me tell you, that is by far the cat's meow. So,
and that's what is it? Just baking or soda or
yeah, it's a baking soda. Yeah, well, I guess it's a sodium bicarbonate, I think. If
Okay.
Brad's listening, he'll probably correct me if I'm wrong there. But yeah, the product's called So Clean. You can buy it at Walmart. You can buy it at Canadian Tire. I don't know.
Well, if you can buy it down
Tractor
here.
Supply down there. Actually, I did see it in Tractor Supply down there. That product is it absolutely just melts that stuff away. And make sure you wear gloves, though. We learned that the hard way. Make sure you're wearing gloves.
Pretty caustic then.
It heats up. You put it on a rag and then you get it wet. It definitely heats up, and you may or may not have fingerprints for about a week and a half.
Oh, geez.
That's cool. Well, that's good. I'm glad that. How's your weather and everything up your way? Is it?
Well,
still
believe it or
fires or-
not, so normally we would have pulled everything from now by now. However, as weird as it can be, we've got our canola got cooked up here. So we had about 4 days of flow, and then everything just shut off. The heat and everything just cooked the crops and everything. But believe it or not, it is blooming right now, like mad. So it's not going to do any good for the farmers, but I'm pretty happy about it. We're starting to get the clover and everything like that is starting to bloom again, which is really late. So now I'm gambling with what can we get in there and what can we get down to a decent water content before I've got to pull it. So obviously I got to get things off there because I have to start feeding right away. My winter prep should have actually started last week. Kind of waiting for CFIA inspections and a few other things like that. But I can show you here.
I didn't know whether it was smoking up in your area or not.
Yes and no. I mean, let me see if I can do this here without hanging up again. Settings. I don't know if you can see right there beside my shed, that
Yeah.
tall stack. Well, that's what is that? That's I think it's like 4 or 5 layers deep there. I don't know if you can see it. I don't have my shoes on. Those are all bee escapes that we will be setting here probably tomorrow and Thursday. So, but
You're running what? You're close to 300 now or more.
What did we say? 276, I think, production. Then we got our battery, and then I've got 100 and I think we're up to almost 130, 120 mating nukes. So
yeah. Doug wants to know: is there any robbing going on?
There was a little bit just when I first got back, but that seems to have settled down here with the with the canola blooming and everything like that. But there was a little bit of robbing. We had to actually discuss getting the entrance reducers in. The big one right now, though, seems to be the wasps. So having to deal with the wasps and stuff like that. So I got a couple ideas in my head for them for next year because they're really, really bad up here this year. So
yeah. So all right. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad that you're back home and everything went safely for you and all and all that.
We put on over 10,000 kilometers actually. Yeah. What did we figure that out to? 6,500 miles or 6,800 miles or something like that. So, yeah. But like I said, if I can drive to you, you're my neighbor.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, that's cool. Glad to hear that. But yeah, everything here, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of prepping in for winter and haven't started feeding yet, but early mite, first round of mite treatments, second round's coming down in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Got her.
Some formic. I got, as far as I know, all my hives are now queen right. Had one issue with one dud queen, got rid of her, put a new one in. I found her in there tonight that she's been released within 5 days, and she's got like one frame that I could see some eggs in this one frame. So she's probably only been out of the cage, maybe I'll say 2 days or something like that.
Got her.
And so, give her some time.
Yeah, we had a couple queens here this year. I'm not sure what happened. They came out of the gate really, really, really strong, and then and I don't know. It could have been due to the flow. There's lots of different contributing factors up here right now. That it's just been a real strange year. But they came out of the gate strong, sheets and sheets and sheets of brood, and then they just seem to stop. So I gotta figure that one out. So I gotta understand what's going on there.
So anyway, that's what's happening here. And hey, Sandy, and all that. So Phil, you say you're going to try to harvest honey and get that done, and
Yeah, I'm already behind pulling, and normally I'm starting my treatments and starting getting ready for winter too.
what are you going to do for mite treatments? Any normal stuff?
Just Apivar strips, OA, just a normal.
What'd you use in the spring?
Spring, just all I did was just OA in the spring. So.
Yeah, I don't really do any. I don't really treat in the springtime. I treat through the winter with OA.
Me too. I
Huh?
I said I treat through the winter too.
I hit a OA at least once or twice a month, every month, and that seems to keep the mites suppressed at a low rate. And then I don't do any treatment while my honey super's on April, May, and June. And then usually I start, and I happen to have the product, which is Aprivar. I know that's kind of getting a sour note towards it, because of different things. And I went ahead and put it in this year because it was so hot, and I couldn't really use Aprigard. And I don't want to use Aprigard in September when I want them to produce a lot of bees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I normally use Formic Pro, which that's what I'm going to do this year. And then this year, the only thing new I'm going to do this year after I get Formic Pro done, and I'm putting my honey, my top high feeders on, I'm going to throw an Appy tablet in there. I know they're not going to eat it, but when I get done feeding, I don't open I don't bust the boxes apart anymore. I let them propolize it all up and ready for winter. That I should be done by the October 15th. It's warm enough to where they can, get the water content down and everything like that. And after that, it's OA. And and like I say, I don't pop my boxes open. I don't want to break any of this. That's why I put the Appy tablet in more or less right before I feed.
I'd be concerned if I was extracting the same way I was last year, but being as my honey flow stopped early, my honey crop will be about half of what it was anticipated to be. And the equipment I got right now, I figure I'll be done extracting in probably about 4 days.
Really? So you're not figuring on getting 16,000 pounds this year?
Oh yeah, no, I was planning on about 50,000. So I should be somewhere around the 18 to 25,000 pound mark.
Really? Okay. Well, you're still more than what you did last year then.
Well, yes, but not where I wanted to be.
Well, that's farming, as they say.
No, actually, we had our year started off absolutely perfect. We started off with an absolutely perfect year. The crops took, everything was perfect, and then we got heat and no rain. So, I mean,
well, see, that's what happened here. The field behind me, you see how it kind of got that yellow look to it. That was prior to the rain. Now it's nice and bright and green because we started finally getting some rain. But we just last week I baled that with my son, and we got, I guess it's whatever the acreage here is. Usually we get thousands of bales. We got 385 bales, after off of everything, the whole shooting mess. And I'm like, second cutting was just almost nothing.
You know what you should do, Charlie? You should take some of those trees that are at the far edge of that field and send them to Montana. They need some trees over there.
Yeah, is that right? Well, they're not even on my property. Yeah, that's something they don't have out that way. and all that.
160 miles, I think, is what the one road that we rode was. Absolutely straight for 160 miles.
Just straight. That just gets boring.
You know?
Yeah.
So, what else have we been doing up here? Well, like I say, we got all the bee escapes done. They'll be set. We're ready to go there. We're obviously completely redid the honey house. So new paint, new lights, new flooring, new electrical, new everything in there. So that's all been done.
And where did you buy a honey house someplace, or did you have to rent it?
I'm still renting it. Yep.
Okay. It was that guy that had a honey house already set up for you?
No, I wish. That's a shame because what they did there is, I guess some of the neighbors borrowed the shop, and now the floor and sump and everything they got it full of oil and grease, and it's a shame. It's a real shame. But anyways, he's the one who owns it, so I can't say too much about it.
Doug says that everybody he's talked to has gotten about a half a crop this year of honey.
Yeah, that's where I'm sitting. That's what I figured. I was hoping for about 50,000 pounds. I figured I'll be between 18 and 20. So, which I have no bills, so everything we have is paid for. So that's right. So.
Roy want to know what the modifications to the clarifier. I'm sure. Hey, Robert, I'm sure that's a top secret. You have to wait until the video comes out.
I will show you that, but let's just say I
probably has more baffles in it.
Well, I've modified some baffles. I did do that. I greatly increased my retention time. It is. Let's just say it's heated on all three sides right now. The design and placement of the baffles, I think, is key. So
when you say retention, meaning that when it goes over through the baffles where the clean honey is, or relatively clean, is it holds more of a deeper well?
No. Let's just say by the time everything is said and done, it would be equivalent to about a 9, 14, about a 16-foot clarifier in substantially less space than that.
I don't follow you. I don't know much.
We'll have to wait for the video.
You'll have to see.
Yeah, I'm not a. I know what a clarifier is, and I always, to me, it's always like it takes 20. Some of them say they'll take 25 gallons of honey to fill to make it work, and that's a lot of honey. I mean, you got to be processing a lot of honey, a lot of flow.
That's That's about 5 to 7 minutes out of my machine.
Yeah, well, see, you're sucking a lot of honey out of your machine too. With me, it just,
Let's just say, I crossed over. So I had a good discussion with an individual that does some water filtration, but has a history in maple syrup.
Okay.
So,
and they do a lot of clarifying and stuff.
I use some of that technology to modify my clarifier.
Right. You better patent it so, Cowan doesn't steal your patents.
So, but I think as we were doing this, I was sitting back. There was light bulbs going off everywhere. So,
right.
It may work. It might not. It might be a complete flop. I'll find out in about 5.5 days.
So how's Alex doing? I know you're finishing honey, and
I can't finish my honey because it's been raining on weekends for the past 3 weeks. So I took time off. I took 2 weeks off, and it's still raining this weekend. And I had my brake lines fixed because they burst a few weeks back. And either some doofus put some brake fluid in my radiator, or the heat exchanger in the radiator for the transmission fluid broke,
Mm-hmm.
and it's leaking oil in the radiator and leaking. So I'm just hoping it's like the doofus that put some oil in it in the wrong place, and a leaking radiator oil hose because
I think it's the latter where it's got
a
it's a-
cracked heat exchanger.
Probably.
cracked heat exchanger. That's what it
That means
sounds
I
like.
need a new radiator
With my
for
pickup
my
truck,
car.
I went in. I drove my pickup truck to get the brakes or something fixed on it, and there's this line of oil following me in, and like you said, the transmission oil cooler line broke as I was taking it to the shop.
So yeah, I haven't been using my car for a while because I don't want to overheat it. Because
right.
So I got a grand total of 3 mediums extracted so far.
You got 3.
But
what?
I still have
You got 3 what extra?
3 medium boxes extracted out of 40, 30. I don't know the exact count. But I do have about a week and a half of day offs left. So if I can either borrow my dad's minivan or get the car fixed in time, I can at least, even if it rained, I can get to the strawberry apiary, which is done by now. I could extract everything.
Right.
But yeah, well, I can't use
So,
my car.
so it sounded like to me that I wasn't sure whether you would get any nectar out of strawberry fields, but it sounds like you
Oh, I
have.
got a lot.
Oh, that's
A
good.
lot.
Glad to hear that and all. Now, I was wondering about that. I didn't know whether strawberries gave out nectar much.
A whole lot. That's how much it's. But there's a whole lot more than. There's a lot more strawberries than there is basswood.
Oh, yeah.
But
But you only got one tree.
what?
You only have one basswood tree.
Yeah, one I can see. It's a pretty common tree over here.
Yeah. So, but
yeah, I got a lot of strawberry honey to extract. So if I can get my dad's car, like tomorrow, I get the car at the garage because I found out about the cracked radiator because I wanted the like the annual oil change and the brake pads in the back checked, and I noticed like the levels in the radiator were low. So I went to the garage. He said, "Oh, we're closed. Just have a look. Is this normal?" And he opened the reservoir, put a popsicle stick in it, and there was oil instead of radiator fluid. And he said it's probably recent because it usually turns into like when the two mix, it usually turns into it kind of looks like coffee cream, and it's not quite like that yet. So my guess it cracked recently.
yeah. Good night, Ryan. Somebody, Westcliff from Colorado. He wanted to know what that honey tastes like. Have you tasted it?
I don't know. I haven't tasted it yet. The honey I extracted was from the basswood apiary.
Okay.
Apparently, it tastes like kind of like a caramel or burnt sugar ish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what Google says. I haven't tried it.
Wonder if that's going to sell for you.
If it's
But
called
yeah,
strawberry honey, it'll sell, won't it?
Yeah, I would think so, Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell most of it to bulk, and I'll keep 6 to 8 5-gallon pails for myself because it's way too much for me to sell by myself for now.
Yeah, Russell said his strawberry, the bees weren't on his stuff, but it might be a different type of strawberry. It's just like I'm starting to learn about. I kept saying that, the field behind me there, the other guy used to plant soybeans, and the bees would not. As far as I know, they never produced any major amount of honey for me off the soybeans. But some folks have stated that there's a purple blossom and then there's a white blossom, and the bees will get a nectar source out of the purple blossom. Now, whether or not that's a non-modified GMO type seed, I don't really know. And things like that. So that's some of the folks have been talking about. I do know, like Jeremy that used to come on from out there in Texas, that he would put his bees on cotton and
Yeah,
it
I
would,
heard about that. Like
yeah,
cotton, some give honey, some don't.
yeah, the modified stuff does not give any honey, and the old stuff does, and all. And that's in a lot of geo modified um plants as far as flowers and things of that nature and all that stuff. So,
Something I'd like to try is willow honey, but it's really, really hard to get some because it flowers really early in the spring.
what is it? Willow? Like
Willow
willow?
honey. Apparently, it's a very mild, very distinct flavor.
Mm,
But
I've never
it's
heard.
like maple honey. It's really hard to get to because it flowers early. Bees tend to eat it all.
Well, it's like around here, like apple blossoms. It's really super early, and you never get any of that I know of, and all that stuff. So, Laura, what's you're getting ready to feed, and pretty much
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
are
I'm
you
just
gonna?
gonna feed, so 1 to 1, and I fed them tonight. Hopefully, you know what? I do have an apprentice, and I helped her with her hives last Friday, and they were brutal. I'm like, come to my hives, see what's going on. My hives were brutal. I think they were just buzzing around and angry because there wasn't a lot of nectar.
Mhm.
So I fed them tonight, and so they should be glomming down on all of the feed tonight. And if I were to go into the hive tomorrow, or if I keep feeding them at night, when I
Right.
go into the hive, I don't think they're going to be as aggressive as they had been.
Now, when
So
you say they're aggressive towards you, I mean, are they like flying up in your face
they're
or
all
what?
over me and everywhere. They're just buzzing everywhere, and they're starting to rob.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, it was just like insanity. I could only get through 2 hives. I couldn't do all 4. It just was
Mhm.
too much. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I pulled all the honey today that was in there, and it's all the dark honey. And then I'll feed, and they'll all have clean honey for the winter, and I'll overfeed. So even if I have like extra frames of um, capped honey, more than I need, I'll put it in the freezer. And in the spring, if they're running low, on a warm day, I can take one of those frozen frames, defrost it, and put it in a hive, like in late February or March.
Right. Now, are you going to do what mite treatments are you doing now or
I
down the
I
road?
I did oxalic acid pads earlier than July 15th. I
Mhm.
saw mites in my drone brood
Mhm.
because I cull, and I pull them apart, and if I see mites, then I did. So I did the oxalic acid pads, and then 6 weeks later I did it again.
Mhm.
So I'm in my second or third week on that. And then when that's finished, I guess maybe, well, probably September, the beginning of September, I'm going to do Appa, I,
Guard.
yeah, AppaGuard, the strips that you put in. Yeah.
Oh, the
A-
April bar. April bar.
Apivar. Okay. Yeah, Apivar. And
Um,
then I will open them
did you
up.
make the OA strips? I'm sure you made those up. uh, is
I
it
followed Randy Oliver's recipe, and it's
okay?
super simple. It's so easy.
I've got all the ingredients. I've just never did it.
It's so easy. So the glycerin does have to be heated up for the oxalic acid powder to melt.
Mm.
So I heated it up, and I have a thermometer. It was 160 degrees. And I poured in the oxalic acid, and it, just used a spoon, and it mixed right up. And then I put the pads in there, and it soaked up. Yeah.
So do you put your pads in a tray and then pour that on the pads, or?
I have a bucket. So, the pads are in the bucket, and then I poured the liquid solution on the pads, and it just soaked right
and
up.
then you made the little spongy pads or whatever you call them.
Yeah.
They sucked it all up, and then
Yeah.
they kind of
And I put 2 on each brood. Yep.
okay.
So super simple. It's as easy as putting like a cup of water with a cup of salt and
Yeah.
mixing it up. It's that easy.
Yeah, and the mixture is pretty simple too. I think it's 1-to-1 by mass, right?
Yep. So, I mean, if you were to use a cup of glycerin and a cup of the oxalic acid, or if you wanted to use a pound of glycerin and a pound of oxalic acid, it's just equal amounts. And yeah, so I did 2 treatments of that, and I'll do the Apagard, right? Apavar. And then in December, I'll do the oxalic acid dribble, like the club does, the middle of December. There's always a day in December where it's like 50 degrees.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then that, and I find, like, when it comes to nosema or anything like that, or it gives it a cleansing flight for those bees to get out, and they do it, that really helps them out there throughout the winter.
I think the goal really, though, is to put that oxalic acid dribble on the cluster when they're clustered together. Because when they're clustered together, you're getting it on the bees. And of course, the bees are always circling around. Like, you've got the queen in the middle, and the bees are always circling around. So they spread it amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And then I rewrap. So that's the annoying part. You have to unwrap and rewrap.
Yeah. I don't do any. Well,
Well,
in the wintertime, I put the carpet over there as a wind block.
Oh, okay.
And the ones that you see where there's no building behind them, then I will bring the carpet from the ground up around the back of the hive and on the sides of the hive. And then it kind of like it makes a tent. And on the sides, there might be a 4 to 6 inch gap there, an air gap. And it does quite well there.
You just want a wind block. That's all, right?
Yeah. It knocks the wind off of them. And really, I think you could figure it's 10 or 20 degrees warmer in a way, as far as keeping the wind off.
Yeah.
Stuff like that and everything. So,
and then I don't treat in the spring at all. Yeah. So my last treatment is the middle of December, and I just, follow the advice of those who are successful instead of those that aren't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's like, see, you're like me. You have a plan. You're going this, and this. And it works for you. And that's like those other folks at the other Friday night chat that's before mine. They don't seem that they don't. Well, are you treating or do? I'm like, you should know when you're supposed to be treating and get a plan. And that way, you should have good results that way.
There are different ways to beekeep, but you have to have your own structure. You can't just be
haphazard.
Haphazard. You just can't be haphazard. Yeah.
At all. And that's what a lot of them can't figure that out for some reason. I don't know why.
It's too much information. You just have to zero in on somebody that knows what they're doing in your area and listen to them. But everybody has a different way, and they're just taking in so many different styles that it's like too many ingredients in the stew. Are you going to have like a mushroom stew, or are you going to have a Hungarian goulash stew. You know, you got to pick something and stick with it. You can't throw everything in there and have it work.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I started. I watched a bunch of different beekeepers, and I stopped watching the ones that didn't give me anything I needed, and honed in on those that did. So
Well, yeah, I
that's
know, Alex, you develop, like, because you're in severe cold weather, you developed your own insulation wraps and things,
well, I
insulating.
copied someone else's that worked for me.
Yeah.
There's somebody in the Yukon. Uh,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. What's his name up there? I forget what his
uh,
name.
the Tardif. I don't
Yeah.
remember his
Tardif,
first name.
Tardif or whatever his name is. Yeah.
He's from Quebec, actually.
Yeah. He spoke at, let's see, he was at Nobby too this January, I think it was, from the Yukon.
I figured since his insulation method works for the Yukon, I mean, it's going to work for Quebec. It's slightly warmer here.
Right.
And there's, like, as far as insulation is concerned, I don't think there's such a thing as overkill as long as it's within a reasonable budget. And making those top insulation boxes only costs me a bit of glue, some foam panels, and like a half-inch hardware cloth. That's it. And
Mhm.
tape.
And then you had some issues where it was starvation, wasn't it? In some of your hives last year or spring?
Some of my hives starved because I left partially undrawn comb in them, so mostly my fault.
Undrawn comb.
Yeah, so they can store honey in them, and they starved. But this year, I put a lot of deep boxes because I was running out of boxes because the honey flow in the strawberry apiary was crazy. So I'm gonna go through, like, once I manage to pull everything out, I'm gonna go through all the boxes and remove every partially undrawn comb and give them a fully drawn one.
Right. So when you feed them, they can store everything up. Yeah. And I've seen that. I was watching somebody today. They were pulling comb out, and it's like they pulled it out, and it's like it's foundation. I'm like, it's like, get that out of there. And then they had some other comb where it was where the bees went wonky, where they'll make a stripe of comb down, on foundation. It's like, take your hive tool and get rid of that, scrape that dumb stuff off there. And now you're not going to get them to draw wax.
Yeah, you don't want bee abstract art. It messes things up a lot.
Right. That's pretty good. I like that. Bee abstract art. And so anyway, I don't know what it was, a video I was watching, and I'm like, it was abstract art comb, and I'm like, get that out of there, and hopefully you do have some comb that you can put in there. But it's pretty hard right now to get them to draw some wax unless it's one
That's
to
why I
one.
put my deeps on. More honey and drawn comb.
Mhm.
I wonder if you feed them the 1-to-1, if they would consider that like a nectar source and would start drawing out comb.
Maybe, or maybe I know Bob Betty talks about not a 1-to-1, but a 1.5 or something like that, which is even closer to nectar.
Oh,
Um,
okay. More water and
it's
less sugar.
real thin
Okay.
sugar syrup, and that
Yeah.
might instill them to draw wax out.
Uh-huh.
Make it just maybe, it's like when I speed quote 2-to-1, my 2-to-1 is not really 2-to-1. It's about 50 pounds of sugar. And that was one thing the guys up there at Chester was talking, they would make fun of me. And I'm like, do the mathematics. I said, take the amount of water and the amount of pounds of sugar to go into it. And for like 20 gallons of water, you need 300 pounds of sugar to make a true 1-to-1 for mathematically. And and 50 pounds of sugar less. I'd make 250 pounds of sugar with 20 gallons of water, which in turns makes 40 gallons of total sugar water. And it's a little bit lighter, but it's close enough, when it comes to sugar water. And the
Mhm.
bees suck it down. And like I say, I try to have all that feeding done by the 15th of October. That way they've dehydrated it, capped it, whatever they want to do to it, and everything's cool. And
I
Todd's
should
talking
do
about
less than 1 to 1. I should do more water.
Todd at 1 to 3. Is that light? Is that how I mean, I get confused on the mathematics. Does that mean it's light sugar is 1 to 3 ratio instead of 3 to 1? I guess 3 to 1 is
one part sugar, 3 parts water.
I guess that's what it is. Yeah. There's 3 to 1, 1 to 3. Instead of 1 to 1, 2 to 1, it's 1 to 3. So, he's all right. Tom and Melissa are doing 3/4 to 1 sugar water right now to try to get them to stimulate to make wax and up brood production a bit. And Tom and Melissa, has that worked for you? And all. So, well, like I say, I figured, yeah, that's what it is. 1 part sugar and 3 parts water. That's what I figured out for me. And I of course, I can't remember all this stuff. I have to write it down, and I have it printed out on the computer and stuff like that, and all that kind of crazy stuff and everything. But, so anyway, well, guys, it's about 10:30. We've been on for an hour and a half, and it's time for me. It's 10:30 for my time anyway, and all. So
It's been a fun evening.
Yeah.
so it's been a fun evening and all. I know
Good evening.
Lee is taking a break right now, and I think Bob is trying to get some work on getting hired for a different type of some type of job, whatever he can find, and able to he's taking a kind of a break too.
I was wondering when he wasn't there.
Yeah, they're just kind of taking a break for now.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to make a video this week because
I can't make one every week. I made put out a couple there, inspected some nukes and stuff like that. If the weather's decent, this last weekend it was raining, so maybe this weekend I'll be able to. Tom and Melissa said they've drawn out foundation for us doing this in the summer, and we still have really good populations and brood patterns in most hives. So it sounds like it still will work for right now. And I think it's, for where I'm at, I know where Laura's at, we're still pretty warm. We're in the 80s. I think it's going to get a little bit warmer and all that stuff and all that kind of stuff. So, and everything like that. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and shut the chat down, and hope everybody enjoyed tonight. Like I say, Phil here was feeling lonely, and I felt sorry for him, so that's why I came on and all that kind of stuff. So
Good night, all.
we'll see everybody on my normal chat on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this coming Friday. And then there's Ricky Rourke. He has his chat on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, and I think Tom and Melissa will be on there with him and anybody else that wants to stop by. So thanks everybody for stopping in tonight, and we'll see you for sure, hopefully Friday. Phil, are you going to be able to make it at any other time this week?
I don't know.
You never know.
Never know. No.
Yeah. All right, DC. Thank you very much. So we'll see y'all later.
Yep. Good seeing you all.